Hi guys, I'm Bear.
I'm Blackie.
Welcome to Always number 55.
55, double nickel.
Double nickels. Guys, we're getting up there. Well, it's that time of the summer when good things are starting to show up. Good things.
Big old tub of blueberries.
Big bowl of blueberries. I'm going to set them out of the camera so I don't sit here and snack on them.
You know what happens whenever Bear calls up and says, why don't you drop by and bring a bowl? Yeah. Yeah.
And he did.
Yeah, invite your friends and use them for labor. The old Southern tradition. Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, we've got several blueberry bushes right here around the corner. We've been talking about them for years and just managed to connect at the right time. They're loaded down right now. My grandson and I came and picked a bowl, this bowl right here. Took them home. My daughter got them washed up and sent us an empty bowl, so I decided to do it again.
Yeah, strike while the iron's hot. When we were little and something like that would come in, it was all hands on deck. I mean, get over there and pick them. And you didn't want the birds to get them. You wanted to go ahead and get them and get them all loaded up.
As much as you can, as quick as you can, and they're real versatile. I mean, you can put them in the freezer and freeze them and pull them out any time in the next year. And, you know, they're good in biscuits, muffins, pancakes, waffles, in cereal.
You can juice them.
Juice them.
Use them for flavorings and all kinds of stuff.
And you can make jellies and jams.
Oh yeah, I mean there's a ton of uses for them. And it ain't gonna be long before figs are gonna be coming in.
Right. We got a fig tree over here that is a really good fruit-bearing tree. And we'll probably be doing a video or two harvesting figs off of that tree.
I mentioned in one of the early old ways about my grandmother had a tree that she had split other fruit onto that. It was a plum tree.
Yeah.
Is what it was. It grew apples and peaches. I forget, to be honest. I think there may have been blueberry on it. I just always remembered it was a big thing. It was the size of a pickup where it had spread out so big. And it was so big a couple of the limbs had a lean to hold it up.
Yeah.
And it was all kinds of fruit on that tree.
It should be about time for the pear tree to start bearing up at my grandmother's old house. It's still in the family, so getting up there won't be a problem.
The old wood pears.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Stew the wood pears.
I like to slice them and eat them right off the tree.
They were okay, but they were never that sweet to me.
Never that sweet and gritty.
Yeah.
The texture's a little gritty.
The texture had like you had something with it.
Yeah.
Of course, we used to take it and we'd slice it and put it in water and then take it out and sprinkle just a little bit of brown sugar on it for us kids.
They're also a really good canning pear.
Mm-hmm.
I was just sitting here going through the Rolodex in my head. There's another fig tree over here at my brother's house, and back over here behind us a mile and a half or so, we've got beautyberry and blackberry, which should be coming into season relatively quickly. Mm-hmm. This is just the middle of June, and we should be into blackberries and beautyberries within the next month.
Well, you made that beautyberry jelly
Yeah.
last time. That was really good. It's got a unique taste to it.
Yeah, it's more of a syrup than a jelly because I didn't put enough pectin in it.
I liked it like that. It was perfect. Put on pancakes or
That's true.
dip French toast in. That's what we did with it, was dip French toast into it. And a lot of that stuff, you didn't let it go to waste. You found a use for it. And then they would freeze the stuff, put it up, so in the winter when you couldn't get any of this, that's when that stuff would come back out. So.
The old timers used to also grow sugar cane, and every farm had a cane mill. And now the cane doesn't come in, if I remember right, until September-ish. But every house every homestead had a cane mill and a mule to turn it with.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll
Or a
see,
bunch of young'uns.
yeah. I've even seen one inventive soul have a lawnmower.
We had a family member that had a mule. The mule come up lame. He stepped on something and hurt his hoof, and he wasn't going to be able to do it. And it was time to start doing that.
Yeah.
And so he wouldn't run the tractor to pull it because he'd make as much money selling as he would buying fuel for the tractor.
Yeah.
And so he got
Cuts your
that.
profit margin.
Oh, it did. So he got the bright idea of getting all the grandkids and the kids out there, and you would turn the thing for so long and get something out of it. And so me and another cousin, I mean, you remember the movie Conan about the death push? Yeah. There was like 6 of us trying to push that thing around. You know, especially when he's sitting there trying to shove cane in like he does with a mule pulling it. We ain't one mule power all of us together.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Oh, it was. It was just so much fun.
This guy was telling you about, he took his lawnmower, it was one of those little lawn tractors, and he turned the steering wheel so that the wheels followed the ruts, and he just put it in gear and stepped off. That was back in the day before they had a kill switch in the seat.
Yep.
And it would just go around in first gear. Never got tired, never quit.
Yep.
And he would just feed piece of cane after piece of cane after piece of cane into it. Speaking of cane, vintagemachinery.org with Keith Rucker. He lives just east of us here over in the edge of Georgia. He has several videos where he repairs cane mills, and they're real interesting to watch because they're hyper simple.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really low tech until you break one and have to fix it. But if you're interested in just getting an idea of that kind of a thing, look him up. It's at vintagemachinery.com with Keith Rucker.
I've often wondered, looking at that, if you took a corn stalk, it'd make sort of corn juice, wouldn't it?
Should.
You know, I've never done it, but I remember being a kid thinking, what else could you crush? I mean, sugar cane's a no-brainer.
Right.
But what
Sorghum.
else? Sorghum.
Sorghum.
Yeah, crushed sorghum.
My granddaddy was a big fan of sorghum. He always had a jar in the kitchen. And I grew up eating it. I kind of like it. It's strong. You have to kind of develop a taste for it.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a lot of, speaking of things that are down here growing and coming into season, pecan trees. Didn't make any pecans last year, almost none. Rule of thumb is generally you'll make a year, skip a year, make a year, skip a year.
And about every 5 years, you'll get a big,
A bumper crop.
yeah.
So this should be, since we skipped last year, this should be a good crop this year.
Mm-hmm.
They'll come in September or October. We'll let you know.
About time peanuts are coming in.
Yeah.
I remember we'd be picking pecans and picking peanuts at about the same time.
I don't know if y'all have priced pecans, but a little half-a-gallon bag, I have a source for them, and he charges like $15 for like a half-a-gallon bag. That's an awful lot. I mean, it really is. But I mean, people pay it.
I got a friend, they've got 9 pecan trees in their yard. And the guy that sold the place, he'd got the land and the house on auction. And he didn't understand what he was looking at. And so it was an old farmhouse from the 40s. You know. And the last owner had kind of insulated a little bit and put a central heat and air unit in it, and a few other little minor things, but it's still a 40s house, you know. And, but there were 9 big pecan trees. And he talked about the one in the corner of the yard was planted and was 150 years old. And so he got the place at auction because there was no relatives of my friend bought the place. And he didn't realize the value of them pecan trees. And so the first year they were there, they got a little over $4,000 of pecans out of them things. where all they did was, you know, and I told the new owners, I said, pick up these pecans and take them in down here to this place and they'll buy them from you. And they didn't think there was any money in it until we went out there and it was everywhere, you know. And we're out there filling up buckets, 5 and 6 and 10 buckets in just a couple of hours. Because it was like the blueberry bush today. I mean, they were just hanging in pecans. It was a big bumper year. And we took them down there and the guy was still trying to shortchange them and they still made $5,000 off of it, you know.
But yeah, it's, if you have access to this kind of stuff, by all means, get out there and get into it. Because, like I said, my nephew, speaking of things, makes blueberry wine. And I'm not a drinker, but I have tasted his wine, and it's good wine. He'll give a bottle or two away at Christmas time. But, you know, you can do that to preserve it. You can do jams, jellies,
Fried pies.
fried pies.
That was, when we were little, that was a treat. Granny would take biscuit dough and mash it flat in the pan and fry it just enough, just to crisp it a little. And she'd put a big filling and then fold it over and take a fork and mash the edge so she could flip it over. And, you know, fry pie.
Yeah, my grandmother did that with pears and peaches.
Pears, peaches, plums, apples, leftover hamburger meat and chili. I've had all kinds of mix for years. If taking something to school to eat, a lot of times it was fry pie something.
Yeah, that's it's not a Welch pie. What's that little county in England they named the pies after?
Oh,
I can't remember. Anyway.
Don't know right off the top of my head.
But yeah, the miners over in England would take a big pie like he's talking about for their lunch, for their supper, whatever shift they were working, and they would eat the center out and leave the crust on the outside where it was pinched on the outside, and then throw it for the little people in the mine.
Granny would take and do scrambled eggs and sausage and put it in a fry pie. And then you wrap it up in aluminum foil.
Yeah.
And you ate that she'd get you up and you ate that on the way to school. And when you went to get out of the car, you had to hand her back the aluminum foil because she's going to clean that aluminum foil and do it again. You know, I think I used the same piece of aluminum foil for the entire second grade.
That's why you do what you do with aluminum foil in your pack.
Yeah, fold it and keep it.
Fold it and keep it.
And I've brought it out many times to cook meats or whatever there and vegetables in a fire, make a reflective oven out of it, bake breads in it.
Thank you, Grandma Thomas.
Oh yeah, you know, it was always, you know, I throw it away. You know, you can just rinse it off and it's fine. It's just got a little bit of grease on it from the pie and rinse that off. And you'd have hanging up on a clothespin 4 or 5 pieces of that. You know what I'm talking about? Until it finally just gave up. It'd been bent so many times it'd crease.
Yeah.
And then it became some other use. She'd wad it up, make a ball of aluminum foil and use it for a scrubber in the pans until that gave up the ghost.
Yeah, I remember that. My grandmother doing that too.
Nothing looked good when it went in the garbage can. It was wore slam out.
Of course, you know, their aluminum foil is different from what our aluminum foil is.
A lot thicker.
Theirs was lots thicker.
Yeah.
Lots thicker.
Yeah. I can remember taking it, we'd make like paper boats out of it and put it on a pond, and that thing would float around in the pond until months until something finally waterlogged it or whatever. You know, there was all kinds of stuff we did with aluminum foil.
It is, or there is.
Something popped up in my head the other day, and I don't know if y'all ever did, but my uncle used to do it. He had them big old saltwater casting rods that we go down to the beach there at Fort Walton Beach, and that pole was about 12 foot long, and he'd put a hunk of whatever on it. I bet it was 2 ounces on that end. And he'd wind that sucker up, and when he'd launch it, he'd go a football field or more out there in the water. You know, he'd just, and he'd watch that line spool off. You had time to sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star before it quit.
That's when you do not want a bird's nest.
Oh my God, no. I remember us going down there and him throwing it out there trying to catch something, you know. And then he'd never put the rod down. He'd always, because something big grabbed it, that rod's gone.
Yeah.
And suddenly he'd hook something, and he was my size. And I can clearly remember he would go ahead and dig holes before we ever started.
For his feet.
For his feet, so he could put his feet, and he'd be standing stiff like he was holding it, his body that high off the ground, you know, his feet's in the hole, holding whatever it was, and then pull up a whatever, a tuna, bonita, or whatever, you know, after dark. And then they told us, well, there wasn't no sharks, and now we've had 3 shark attacks in less than an hour in Florida.
Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah.
So, time to go shark fishing.
Speaking of that, there's the small fish are schooling along the Gulf Shore, and they're migrating from west to east, which means that there's going to be fish coming up our local rivers, migrating up our local rivers. If you'll remember back early in the history of this channel, I shot a video at the junction of the Pea River and the Choctawhatchee River. There'll be fish schooling up that far, easily.
We're 180 miles by river up from the Gulf. And 5 years ago, we got over at Newton, at Waterford Landing. A guy I know that he owns land right there. Him and his kids had gone down to it. And it was right at sundown, and he was filming the kids standing in ankle deep water or whatever. And they pointed, and he turned and he looked with his camera, and he looked up there probably about 60 yards up, and you could see fish, and there was a fin sticking up, a shark fin.
Bull shark.
Bull shark, following it. That's what they're doing, he's following them fish.
Yes.
You know.
But my thought was, you know, now's a good time to go fishing and gather your fish and dress them and prepare them. You can salt them. You can smoke them and salt them and smoke them. You can just dry them out.
Freeze them. 1,001 years.
There's all kinds of things that you can do for hard times.
People don't make fish cakes anymore.
Not much.
I mean, salmon patties.
I do salmon patties.
And things like that. I can remember that. We would take, we call them sucker fish.
Yes.
I don't know the official name for it.
Sucker? That's
It
the
is
name.
sucker?
Yeah.
But suckerfish, we catch them in January and February. About the beginning of March, they were gone. They'd come up here to spawn, and they're just full of little bitty, teeny tiny bones that look like a bristle hairbrush.
Yes.
But we would take them and fillet them out, get as many bones out of them as we could, and throw them in a blender and turn them into a meal, and then add cornmeal and an egg and make fish cakes out of them. And once you did that, there was no bone. I mean, you just ate it.
Right.
You know, but
And
I
if
remember
you-
doing that.
Yeah, if you choose to make them into like fillets, you can put breading on it and fry them, and the little bones will crisp.
Yeah,
When you go to eat them, you don't really notice them.
no, it's like a crisp French fry.
Yeah.
They just dissolve. They're such fine little, flexible little bone. It isn't something that's going to break and be jagged.
Yeah,
You just chew
it's
it
not
up.
going to hurt you. It's going to
Yeah.
just be a little added crunch to the fish cake or to the thing.
Okay. I can get calls from Well, howdy.
But thank you, sir. Hey, Steph. Happy anniversary. If I don't see you tomorrow, man, happy birthday. But yeah, fishing is a good way to put up food for that rainy day for that dry spell. We just started hurricane season. Hint, hint, Southerners.
Be ready. Every time we have a wet, cold winter, it means that we're gonna have a rough hurricane season, and the Gulf never really cooled off this year.
No.
So the Gulf is already in the 80-degree temperature range, and so it's just gonna be like gas on a fire. The good news is for us in Alabama, bad news for you guys in Texas, is that during these type of summers, the guiding winds tend to want to push them all the way to Texas.
We've got
kind of miss us.
right now we've got an area of interest that's just to the east of the Yucatan, and they have told the entire Gulf Coast, watch this one.
Yeah.
There's an area of interest off of South Carolina for you folks on the Atlantic. And I think there's 2 or 3 off of Africa right now, or maybe one off of Africa, one off of South America.
Well, a couple of years ago, I heard it was archaeologists that proved it. What is a hurricane was a dust storm in Africa, and it comes across, and when it comes all the way across the Atlantic, it turns into what we call a hurricane, and it gets there, but it's still carrying that dust with it.
Yeah, it can do that. It can start as a dust storm in North Africa, or it can start as a thunderstorm in equatorial Africa.
But they started doing core samples here in Alabama and
Of
looking,
African dust.
and you'd hit this fine, thin layer of African dust from the Sahara, and they knew it was a hurricane they got here. So that's one way they can plot and figure out that in 1802 there was a hurricane, or 1625 there was a hurricane here, because they can see the dust.
Well, that's how we got our cattle egrets, the white cattle egrets that we have here in the southeast. They came across in a hurricane from Africa to Brazil in the 50s, and have just, since the 50s, have migrated their way up and around.
Got caught in the upcurrents and just kept going round and around and around.
And they're absolutely fantastic gliders, if you've ever watched them. They can just sort of lock their wings in and just hang there, literally. But anyway, back to the suggestions for preparing for hard times. Like we said, fishing, there's nothing much in season right now as far as hunting goes. In fact, there's nothing in season right now except feral pig.
Well, now hold on. In Alabama, it's pig, and I think they put possum,
Possum's never been off of it.
and it's year-round. You can get possum now. I
Yeah, you
think.
can get possum, you can get coon.
Coon and possum is year-round, so is hog. And of those, I'd like about a 45-pound piglet.
Oh yeah.
You know, I don't want no big one. There's too much work to clean them, and they don't taste as good as the young ones.
Yeah, but I mean, if you've got access to hunting land and you know that there are hogs in the area, okay,
If you don't have access to hunting land, find a farmer and say, look, you got a problem pig, let me know, I'll come get it.
Yes.
You'll get phone calls.
yes you will.
Yeah, I've told many GIs out here at the fort that. So go where farmers hang out and just put up your 3x5 index card or something saying, here's my phone number, if you want hogs removed and nothing but hogs, call me, I'll come get hogs. And farmers will call you, because after you've spent days getting the field ready, and you go to plant, and you get up the next day and go out there, and a 1/4 acre is gone, because they just started in line and rooted up every seed peanut you put down, you'll pay somebody to come get it, kill them right now. If you didn't do it.
Quickly.
Come kill these suckers. Because this is they're amazingly destructive on the farming side.
Yeah, it's a bulldozer with 4 legs.
That snout does a great job at bulldozing.
Absolutely, and a sow will have as many as 3 litters in a year, and we're talking, 12 to 15 every time she drops. So I mean, do the math. That's almost 50 extra hogs a year that you didn't have. Harvest the sow.
Yeah.
Harvest the sow and the suckling.
Well, anything else, brother?
No, not right off the top of my head. This has just been a friendly chat between the two of us and y'all. Things can get bad quick.
Yeah.
We have told y'all that since old days one. Things can get bad quick. Be ready for it or be sorry. That's it. Don't mean to be the harbinger of doom, but you know, reality.
Have at least, you know, a month worth of food. Canned food, something don't require refrigeration, put up. Go to the dollar store and pick up a couple of cans of that, and then try it and make sure you like it. Nothing's worse than being in hard times and you got to eat something you really don't like.
That's true.
Always try it, and if it's like, no, I don't like this, or I can't fix this up where I can stand it, get something you do like and put it up, put a date on it, and rotate them through.
Yeah. Invest in a Sharpie pen and put the date on it that you
Put the date on
purchased.
top of the can so you can tell, and always rotate your stuff, and it will really help when things get bad in a hurry, you know.
And it will. It was, you know, if you live down here, it's hurricanes. If you live up in the Midwest, which oddly enough is directly north of us,
Yeah.
it's lake effect blizzards. If you get out into the Great Plains, it's tornadoes and prairie fires
And blizzard.
and blizzards.
It can completely disrupt an area.
Yeah, you get up into the Rockies, it's avalanche, snowstorms and avalanches
Well, they
mostly.
just posted, what, Monday, about the main road up to one of the big, like, Telluride or something like that.
I didn't see that.
It's going up along the edge of a cliff, and a third of the cliff slipped off.
I did see that.
Yeah, and
I
it's
did
gonna
see
be
that.
months. They got just enough room, a car can sneak around the edge of it, but, you know.
I'm not gonna do it.
Another 10 feet, and whoever was up there, congratulations, you're here.
You just became a resident.
You're a resident, we gotta use airlift to get everything out of here. So you never know what is gonna happen.
And you folks that watch us overseas, you know, the Philippines, y'all, didn't they just recently have a typhoon
Yeah,
that lasted like 30 days?
yeah, where
2
it kinda
weeks?
stalled out and just
Yeah,
sat there and churned.
Just stalled out and sat there. Guys, y'all do the same thing.
Our friends down in New Zealand, y'all have big earthquakes down there.
Yep.
You know, Australia, y'all are now, thank God, you're getting out of your summer now, you're starting your winter. I know you're happy about that. It should be your wet season now. So be prepared. The
Yep.
world is changing.
Preparation knows no location.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If we didn't care about you, we wouldn't keep harping on this mess.
A wise man said to me one time, I said, is it safe? He said, if you're inside heaven, you're safe. Every place else is suspect.
Absolutely.
Any place else is suspect.
Yep. Well, guys, I think we're going to call it a wrap on this one. And if you would, leave us a comment, hit that like button, and subscribe, ring that bell for Bears Old Ways and for Blackie Thomas. I want to plug him too,
Thank you, brother.
anytime. But anyway, guys, y'all have a good one. We'll see you down the road.